Welcome, everybody. We call this meeting to order for December 19th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Need a roll call, please.
Mays here.
De Jesus here.
Brianna Texoni here.
Mask on here. Changes to the agenda.
No, sir.
I motion.
We're moving it in. Second. We call the question. Call the question.
Mays aye.
De Jesus aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Mrs. Mays, would you lead us in the flag salute? So now we move into board reorganization.
2B, civility statement.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
Mr.
no.
Meskin.
You want to read the civility statement?
Sure. The civility statement states, communicate clearly and concisely with respect for others' time. Listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others. Understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors. Understand and respect the district policies and procedures. Respect the district's rich history and the efforts of others who have served in the past.
Thank you. Item number 3, board reorganization.
Yes, for the oath of office of Board of Trustee proceedings, Ms. Taxoni, Dr. De Jesus, Mr. Mays, will you please join me in front of the dais so that we could do the oath of office this evening? Thank you. And faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Item 3B.
You can just call for nominations.
I'd like to call for nominations for the office of president.
I would like to nominate Lester Mascon for the office of president.
I second.
Well, thank you. I accept. Is that, we call for question on that, or is that?
Yes.
All right, call for question.
Mays aye.
De Jesus aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Ask on aye. All right. Thank you for your confidence. It's a pleasure to be able to have the opportunity to get back to my community. And it's something I take very seriously. So thank you. Now we'll call for nominations for the office of Vice President, and I would like to start that off by nominating Ms. Brianna Taxoni.
I'll second.
Thank you. I would like to accept.
Call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have call for nominations for office of the clerk.
I would like to nominate Dr. George De Jesus for board clerk.
A second. Mr. De Jesus, do you
I'm
accept?
sorry. Yeah, I accept. Thank you.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have the appointment of secretary to the Board of Trustees, and I would like to nominate,
That's the boss.
what's that? Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
I would like to motion that Dr. Sahakian be the secretary to the board.
I second. Call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have the selection of representative to the Antelope Valley School Boards Association. Get a call for nominations.
This is currently my position and I enjoy going. I would like to retain this position unless somebody else wants it. I'll still go. I'll just go with you and support you.
I'd like to nominate Brianna.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have the selection of the representative to California School Boards Association Legislative Network.
I believe that's what I'm doing now.
Okay. Would you like to continue doing this?
Sure, why not?
I nominate Dr. George De Jesus.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have the representative to the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization Education Code. Who's doing this now?
I would like to nominate Ken Falscraft for this position.
I would second that. Does he need to accept that, or can we just
No, it doesn't need to accept.
call the question?
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have the selection of board representative to the Los Angeles County School Trustee Association. You have anything on this? What's that? I can do that.
I would like to nominate Lester for this position.
I'll second.
Accept. Call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. That's it. Resolution for certification of signatures.
Correct. It's recommended that our trustees approve resolution 2024-25.11 to certify signatures of our school board.
I'll motion.
Second.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. All right. Do we have any public participation at this time?
Not at this time.
In that case, I'd like to motion that we adjourn to closed session where we may discuss conference with labor negotiators, public employee discussions, discipline, dismissal, or release, conference with legal counsel, or student matters.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, aye.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. We'll adjourn to closed session at 6:39 PM. All right, we reconvene this board meeting at 7:35. There was no action taken in closed session. Still need public comment card? Yes. All right. Luis Diaz. Please approach the podium, state your name, and
Good night. I'm the mother, one of student at school, and my concerns, one of the concerns that I have recently on my daughter, she has a field trip, and she wasn't included in that. I don't know why. I need answers. I'm just looking for answers. Nobody give me an answers because they tell me that one of the teacher that she doesn't give me a paper to let me know about that. And then when I called to someone else, they told me, oh, because she's not a teacher, they told me another name of the teacher. And then I'm confused right now because they told me she's, first of all, she's Down syndrome. She has 6 years old. She doesn't speak yet. And then nobody is doing anything because it happened a lot of things in my daughter with the same teacher. One of the things last year was that she left my daughter outside in the parking lot. She forgot my daughter. And then the other thing was the little kid was putting her tongue inside my daughter. And then when I asked my daughter a kiss, or my husband, or my kids, she wanted to do the same thing, do the little kid do to my daughter. And another thing is they told me they don't know they're gonna take out the kid and they're not gonna have the same place in the same moment, and they don't do anything because I went to pick up my daughter one day early, and then when I go and pick her up, I saw her in the same room with the little kid, with the same teacher. Right now, they told me that teacher that I suppose that's her own, I don't know how to say, but it's her primary teacher. They say that she's not. They told me Ms. Jacobson is her primary teacher, but she's not. So I sent her an email to ask something about my daughter, a concern that I have. And then she told me that she cannot give me explanation because she didn't even know because it's not her teacher. When I sent my other teacher that's supposed to my teacher's daughter, she don't answer. They call me for the district and tell me that why you send an email for her because she's not your daughter's teacher. And then I'm confused. So tell me who's my daughter's teacher right now, because I just sent an email because I have a concern with my daughter and nobody can tell me anything, not even explanation. So what did I do? They need to do something. They need to help me. They do it tomorrow. They do a meeting to me to fix that IP right now, to remove Ms. Fernandez's teacher, because why? They want to cover everything, or they want to do what? I don't know, because they don't do anything. I need explanations. They don't help me. I need explanation, please. My daughter is keep doing that to my husband, to me and my kids, with the same kid in the same class. I don't know if the kids keep doing the same to my daughter. She doesn't speak. She doesn't speak and tell me, Mom, someone do this to me. Help me.
Eric, would you please contact her after this meeting?
Yes, we've been in contact and we'll make sure that we contact us once again. Absolutely.
And another thing, she have an A for everything. And the things that happen is when the A is not with her, next to her. And they told me it's responsibility about the A to do this and this. It's not responsibility of the A. It's the teacher responsibilities. Is that I think. But it's a lot of more concerns that I have. But this is the most important for me, for my daughter.
I understand. Dr. Sahaki and the superintendent will reach out to you after this, if that's okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Call for public comments, recognitions and reports.
Yes, sir.
You have anything on number 7? Oh. Add a representative. Thank you.
It's on now. I just wanted to say happy holidays to the board. Hope you guys all have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you. CSEA representative. No. Student representative of the board.
Hello, I'd like to start with Meadowlark. So, this week Meadowlark is having a spirit week and the festive days are Monday, wear your favorite holiday sweater. Tuesday was wear your favorite sparkly or any holiday clothing. Wednesday was get cozy, which is wearing your favorite or comfiest PJs. And Thursday, today, was Winter Wonderland, where students wore white or dressed like a snowman. And tomorrow is wearing red or green. Tonight was the Jingle Bell Jukebox Asmo Winter Concert from kindergarten students to 6th grade students. And this concert is always a good time. Some Vasquez High School updates. The highlights. On December 3rd, students had the opportunity to tour UC Riverside campus, which was a very successful trip. Our incredible culinary students showcased some of their cooking and hospitality skills during the Parade of Tables event on December 7th. This was a great fundraiser organized by the Agua Dulce Women's Club. Some past events for Vasquez. On November 18th, students had the opportunity to take the ASVAB test and on campus to assist with career planning. On November 19th, students enjoyed a successful trip to College of the Canyons. Some upcoming events for Vasquez. Many students have completed their finals, and tomorrow will be the last day of finals as semester 1 grades are finalized. ASB is also having their annual roadshow, inviting 8th grade students to tour and learn about Vasquez in January. For athletics, we are halfway through winter sports. Boys basketball has been a pleasant surprise with great wins the team has gained, and they have only lost 1 league game and are currently positioned to challenge for a league title. Some campus updates for Vasquez. We are working with the maintenance department to make minor modifications to rooms in the main office and the library area to create more workspace that will be utilized by multiple professionals such as speech and OT. Lastly, High Desert Middle School. Some Hawk highlights. High Desert wants to especially thank Mrs. Landeverd for the amazing work she has done supporting our 5th and 6th students. She will be joining Meadowlark special education staff on Monday, and we will miss her. Meadowlark is very lucky to have her. Mrs. Shannon was an incredible instructional aide for High Desert for the past year. She got a promotion to working full-time with Hillary Blaha, and High Desert will miss her tremendously, but she promised to come back from time to time subbing. High Desert students and staff are so grateful to Mrs. Graff for her support as a long-term sub. She is so dependable, truly cares about students, and works hard to ensure that students maintain academic achievement. High Desert also welcomed Mrs. Bladlock back to staff as a long-term sub. She is a great addition to our team. Her enthusiasm is infectious, and we even supported her in enrolling to a program to get her credentials so that she may stay with us permanently. Some past events for High Desert. High Desert hosted the Schools to Watch team on campus for a redesignation visit. The team loved the school and were so impressed with the growth the school has achieved over the past 3 years. They look forward to an official announcement this upcoming February. High Desert Middle School is officially redesignated as a national school to watch and will be recognized in Monterey in March and in Washington, D.C. in June. Dodgeball night was November 15th last month. The night was filled with fun, excitement, and lots of competitive spirit. We are so grateful to our Booster Club for their creative events that bring the community together. Some upcoming events to look forward to for High Desert. The last day of school for the semester is tomorrow. They have been working hard academically, and tomorrow they will be rewarded for their hard work. They kick off the day in their PJs with hot cocoa, then off to class for final academic items to be completed. And they will end the semester with a Charlie Brown Christmas movie and Snoopy snacks provided by the Booster Club. Some athletic updates. Congratulations to our cross-country team on a great season. Thank you to Coach Laura Quint for her love of running, and for instilling it in her students. Congratulations to the girls team for placing third in a league game, and a special congratulations to fifth grader Avery Walker for placing first for the whole league. And as a fifth grader competing against sixth to eighth graders, that is incredibly impressive. Varsity flag football finished in third place this year, and a thank you to coaches Pat Tucker, Leo Rivas, and Matt Prosser for the guidance and mentorship this season. HDS is proud to host all of the flag football games this season on our amazing new field. Thank you to AADUSD, Acton Women's Club, Agua Dulce Women's Club, and Agua Dulce Airport for making our field a field of dreams, complete with a new scoreboard. We look forward to having a grand opening celebration in the spring and inviting everyone out to play a game. There's one more thing I'd like to add to my report this meeting. Since the week of November 21st, I've held a toy drive for our district. A box of toys for donations was put on each campus as well as here at the district office. I've since collected 4 full boxes of toys. I took one on December 8th to the Children's Hospital, and I'll be making another scheduled visit to donate the rest, hopefully this weekend. I still have a box at Meadowlark and at High Desert, and I'll be collecting those boxes tomorrow at the end of the school day. I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone that has donated toys and a little backstory as to why I held this toy drive. I did this year because my younger cousin Alex Darbinian was diagnosed with cancer when he was 6. He is now 16 and he beat that cancer twice. And for the past 7 years, my Aunt Rosie has held a public toy drive collecting and donating toys to Children's Hospital Los Angeles because they are the ones that diagnosed and treated my cousin. She is the one that inspired me to do this, and I hope to come back to our school next year as well as many years to come and do this again because every child deserves to smile on Christmas. Thank you, and that is the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Always thorough. Superintendent report.
Thank you. Hard to beat that report, so thank you for that. Tonight, I'll be focusing on 2 goals, Goal 3, community engagement, and Goal 4, student safety and connectedness. For Goal 3, I'll just start off with catchy name, Lattes with Leadership. Forum scheduled to kick off in January, I believe January 22nd. This initiative aims to foster stronger collaboration, communication across the district, mainly with our parent community. The monthly in-person meetings will take place at the district office, where we're all seated right now, and will include district office administrators and our 3 school principals. These sessions will focus on timely, relevant topics that directly impact the district and our schools, providing an open dialogue, discussions, and shared problem solving. So looking forward to that. Next up, as far as community engagement, our students, are a priority. I'll be spearheading the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, launching in January, actually January 24th, the day after our January board meeting at VHS. This council will serve as a platform for student voices to be heard and integrated into decision-making for the district. Over a dozen students have already signed up to participate, so thank you, students. You know who you are. Representing a diverse range of perspectives and experiences, the council will provide an opportunity for the students to share their insights, what's impacting them at their school, and collaborate on solutions alongside with district leadership. December 7th, we had the 30th anniversary, the Agua Dulce Women's Club had the 30th anniversary of the Parade of Tables, and we're fortunate enough to be invited. We had the pleasure of participating in this milestone event, celebrating 3 decades of this community tradition. The Parade of Tables showcased beautifully themed table displays, collaboration, and dedication from the Agua Dulce Women's Club. It was a wonderful opportunity to engage with community members, honor the club's contributions to the district, and appreciate the sense of connection and pride this event fosters year to year. So thank you, Agua Dulce Women's Club, for this fantastic opportunity. Last item for Goal 3. I'd like to provide a brief update on the formal investigation initiated by an online petition at Meadowlark. The petition has garnered approximately 258 signatures. Out of the 258 signatures, 35 are associated with the elementary school. At this time, the external investigator is in the process of contacting individuals for interviews. It is important that we continue to facilitate interview scheduling process by responding promptly to the request and outreach. As noted on our website, if there are any questions regarding the investigation process, please contact my office, my executive assistant, Ms. Yolanda McCauley. And thank you for your cooperation in that. Moving forward, goal 4, student safety and connectedness. On December 9th, we had scheduled active shooter drills and tabletop activities at all 3 sites. The successful drills were conducted, again, at all 3 sites, focusing on emergency preparedness and response protocols. Each site mobilized their immediate response teams who were tasked with responding to evolving minute-by-minute scenarios depicting the movements of a hypothetical shooter on campus. These exercises tested decision-making, communication, and coordination under pressure. In working with law enforcement over many years, they reiterated the emphasis on critical information that's being provided to law enforcement as they do take over school sites during these types of situations. They talked about how timely and accurate intelligence during this type of situation is of significant impact in order to mitigate risk and protect lives, both students, staff, and others on campus. Finally, on a positive note, as we head into our winter break over the next few weeks, I want to wish all of our families, our community, a very happy holiday season. I hope you all enjoy your break, and we look forward to seeing our students back on Tuesday, January 14th. It's a nice long break. Enjoy. That concludes my
Thank you.
report. Thank you.
Any discussion on any of those items? Comment? No? Next, we have the Facilities and Finance Subcommittee report. Did Kai have it prepared to talk about or no? No, okay. Would you like to give it?
On 11/11 Facilities Finance Subcommittee met. We talked about priorities for the next 4 years. The priorities we're looking at potentially would be roofs at High Desert, Meadowlark, paint of portable classrooms, and some shade structures of Vasquez. Year 2, High Desert, new roof, multipurpose room, and some other roofs for that. We also talked about fixing classrooms for use at the DO. The next meeting, we'll be talking about cost controls. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? No? Education Subcommittee report.
Take that one. So we had a great start with our education subcommittee. We had some really great engaging conversations on the disciplinary process, as well as aligning those to state law and best practices. It was a great start. I think we have a lot moving forward at this point, but I think that we had the right people in the room. You ever been to a meeting when you know you have the wrong people in the room, you can't get progress done? It happens all the time in my organization. I hope they're not watching. But I think we had the right people to really move this process forward as far as disciplinary process. Our next meeting, I think we're talking about the data, right? School data. So I look forward to see what's coming up, and hopefully that, us being on the board here, we're getting down into the weeds. That way we can actually understand what's going on. I'm learning a lot. Dr. Chamberlain's been so patient with me as I ask her all these questions about trying to understand K through 12 and as far as the processes goes. So I appreciate that, Dr. Chamberlain.
So that next subcommittee meeting is on January 21st at 3:30 p.m. And both subcommittee meetings are open to the public. So everybody's welcome to attend and listen in and chime in. It's not like a board meeting where you can't speak, correct? Where lots of opinions are definitely welcome. So they also do them online as well.
Real quick, they're also recorded too. So if you want to go back and review that, it is on the website as a recorded video too.
Yeah, the agendas are posted in advance. So if you see something you want to comment on, or you have something, please involve yourself. It's Policy and Management Subcommittee. So we'd like to make some appointments this evening. Dr. De Jesus and Mr. Ken Faldsgraf, we'd like to have you appointed to the Policy and Management Subcommittee report. And Dr. De Jesus, would you mind chairing that subcommittee? Or would you rather punt that to Ken?
I'll take it.
Okay,
I'll take it.
thank you. We need to do anything else about it?
No, from my understanding, that's supposed to kick off sometime in January as well.
I think it's next week. You're supposed to have your first.
Thank you.
Submissions.
We don't have any submissions this evening. However, at the January board meeting on the 23rd, we will have a public hearing from Options for Youth.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to move in the consent agenda?
A
Where do you want-
motion.
I'll second.
Call the, any discussion? Call the question.
Mays,
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
De Souza.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye.
I would just like to say, I know it's not really discussion, but I do want to do a public thank you to the Palmdale School District. That was a large gift, so thank you.
Thank you. Williams report. Was that part of the, oh, sorry. Item 10, personnel report, 10A.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
There are no changes to the PAR, President Mescon, just FYI.
Any discussion? Call the question?
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
De Souza.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have the proposal for AST consulting services.
I'll move it in.
Thank you. So the consultant, if approved, they are a payroll specialist that has served quite a few districts in LA County. She's familiar with the LACO HRS system, which is a new platform that districts within LA County, the 80 districts, will need to adopt. We're on schedule for the month of April in terms of adoption. Our business department has been diligently attending those trainings weekly, as well as human resources and Mrs. Erdrich. The request is to go ahead and hire this consultant for the support of a new payroll technician position as they transition into the HRS system for LACO. Please.
Any discussion? Call the question?
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
De Souza.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Next, we have a contract for internship for social worker.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Through the mental health grant of the U.S. Department of Education, social workers from USC earn a stipend each semester they complete their field work. And we've been fortunate enough to have an intern from USC who has completed 2 semesters. So we are requesting $4,000 for the stipend to be paid out of the mental health grant for the 2 semesters, please.
Any discussion? Call the question?
I will respectfully abstain.
Mays, aye.
De Souza.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Proposal for item D, 10D, proposal Melissa Valencia Thompson, art education advocacy, coaching and consulting. Get a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. So Ms. Melissa has been a great supporter of the district with the arts plan. And so we would like to retain her for $300 to come out of the arts grant funds to offer PD and printmaking.
Any discussion? Call the question?
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
De Souza.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Item 11, education and pupil services. Item A, approval K through 12 data sharing and services partnership agreement between AAD-USD and the Foundation for California Community College.
I'll go ahead and move it in.
Thank you. So districts entering into a partnership with CCGI, for short, allows districts to securely upload student transcripts, high school students, their transcript data into the California Colleges platform. This data sharing platform will be a requirement for all school districts within the state of California by January of 2026. We're just very proactive and jumping ahead for this data sharing agreement if the board allows us to move forward.
Any discussion? Call the question.
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Item 12, business services. Resolution 2024-25.10, iLead online charter petition renewal.
I'll motion.
Ms. Patterson.
I'm supposed to check this. Good evening. My name is Nishay Pattison. I'm the Director of Charter Services. I'm here as the district's staff recommendation for iLead. The district staff has rigorously reviewed the petition and iLead's academic performance data. Based on the staff's review, the staff recommends that the board grant the petition for a 5-year term from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030.
Call the question. Right. Is it called the question?
If we vote no, do we get to keep having iLead people come to our audience? Because I like it.
Okay, they may haunt the place, so probably.
So call the question.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on, aye. Congratulations. All right, so next we have a public hearing for the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District notice, public hearing input, recomposition of maps for trustee area elections. And I have a statement that I need to read to start it off. We'll open it at 8:03 p.m. Thank you. Welcome to the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District's 4th public hearing regarding the drafting of trustee area maps under the California Voting Rights Act, or CVRA as commonly known. The purpose of today's hearing is to receive input from the public in the maps of the 5 trustee areas that have been drawn by the demographer and possibly decide which map to adopt. Before I turn over the podium to our legal counsel, Ronald Wenkart, to introduce our demographer, Justin Levitt, I'm just going to mention a few major points. The CVRA is a state law which prohibits at-large voting systems that impair the ability of racial or ethnic minorities to elect the candidate of their choice. The CVRA favors district-based election systems in which candidates must reside in a trustee area and only the voters residing in that trustee area vote for those candidates. To avoid the potential for litigation and the cost of attorney fees, the board has decided to modify the current election system and establish a district-based system for the 2026 election. This means that beginning in 2026, voters in those trustee areas up for election in 2026 will vote for one candidate in their trustee area, and the remaining trustees will hold an election in 2028. The change in the election system will not affect the 2024 election or school attendance boundaries. I'm going to turn over the podium to our legal counsel to introduce our demographer and provide us with additional information, followed by public input.
Thank you, Mr. Moscone. It's a pleasure to be here. This is our 4th public hearing. As we go through this process, we're hoping that we'll get some additional input from the public as to which map they prefer. Tonight, our demographer is going to do a presentation similar to the presentation from the last board meeting. We've added map 105 based on input from board members. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Levitt to explain all of that as he goes through his presentation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, President Mescon, members of the board, members of the community who are here tonight. My name is Dr. Justin Levitt with National Demographics. It's a pleasure to be here. I am going to go through this presentation, at least the first part, pretty quickly. If there's anything that you want more information on, we do have recordings of our Zoom meetings where we go into the criteria in a lot of detail, and those are available on the district's website. And I'm also happy to answer any questions about them after the presentation. As required by state law, we have a minimum of 5 public hearings required as part of this transition to district elections, or trustee area elections as they're called for school districts. We had 2 public hearings back in October to discuss the criteria, to review the process and procedure before any draft maps were drawn. In addition to that, we held a community forum on October 15th. Then we released draft maps on November 7th. We had our 3rd public hearing, the first time we looked at draft maps, on November 14th. And following that, we had another community forum on Zoom on November 20th. So tonight is our 4th public hearing, the first chance possibility to adopt district maps, and fulfilling our requirement that we hold two of these hearings within 45 days of each other. Following the adoption of a draft map, we'll submit that to the County Committee on School District Organization. The LA County Committee on School District Organization is the body that oversees any sort of territory transfer, election change. They have a number of technical roles in the transition to district elections. They have to hold a public hearing within the district. It'll probably be right here in the boardroom. And then after that, it will be first used for elections in November 2026. And the remaining trustee areas will hold their first elections in 2028. Just to refresh our mind, all the maps were drawn with these districting rules and goals in mind, and our modifications correlate to these rules and goals as well. A reminder, our federal laws that trustee areas must have more or less the same number of total residents, the 1 person, 1 vote principle. The maximum deviation or difference between the largest and smallest areas must be no more than 10% of a trustee area population. In addition, we have to look at the federal requirements of the Voting Rights Act. Race and ethnicity may not be used as the predominant or only factor justifying the creation of a trustee area. But we do have to look at protected class communities, groups have historically faced discrimination, to see whether or not it is possible to draw districts that help them achieve representation. And we'll talk about that as we look at the comparison between the maps at the end. In addition, the state requires us in the central column to prioritize certain rank ordered criteria. First, trustee areas must be contiguous. That's a really fancy way of saying that they have to have one outside boundary. You can't pick and choose little bits and pieces of land as one trustee area. The area must be bounded by one external boundary. Then underneath that, avoiding division of neighborhoods and communities of interest. This is the principle that to the extent possible that we keep socioeconomic or geographic areas together for the purpose of their effective and fair representation. Below that, avoiding division of cities and census designated places. We have portions of 1 city and 2 census designated places within our community. Now there's no population in the city portion, but there is a tiny sliver of Palmdale right at the northern end of the district. Where we do see more population is in the census designated places, technically unincorporated areas that the census has defined, of Acton and Agua Dulce. Now, the reason these are rank ordered is so that if our community understanding of where Acton or Agua Dulce is doesn't match where the census puts that boundary kind of arbitrarily, especially for census designated places, then we follow that neighborhood or community boundary first. Fourth, easily identifiable boundaries. This is the idea that districts or trustee areas should be easy to understand. And so to the extent we can avoid dividing communities by following major roads or other natural or man-made features, we should try to do so. And lastly, compactness, which the law specifically defines as not bypassing one group of people to get to a more distant group of people. Finally, in the new law, the Fair Maps Act, there is a prohibition on drawing districts for the purpose of favoring or disfavoring an incumbent political party, potential challenger, essentially asking us to draw these maps blind to political and partisan considerations. In addition to that, there are other traditional districting principles that courts have recognized that can be taken into account after and only after all of our state and federal requirements are met. So again, we're gonna, if you have more questions, we have a PowerPoint presentation and a very detailed Zoom meeting where we spend a half an hour talking about these criteria in a lot of detail. So at our last meeting, we had a couple of requests that we wanted to look at. And one of our big requests was to look at the Vista Ladera Homeowners Association, which is within the community of Acton, and try to keep it together. See if it was kept together in any of our current maps, and if not, draw a map that kept it together to the extent we could. Now, one of the challenges of rural communities or communities that the census has traditionally don't have district or trustee area elections is that what we see here is what we see here. The small area bounded in black in the central part, that is the Vista Ladera Homeowners Association boundary. The red area testing. The colored in area around it is the total land mass of all the census blocks that contain parts of the Vista Ladera Homeowners Association. So a lot of the properties don't back onto another street or to another natural or man-made feature. They back onto wilderness. And so a lot of those census blocks, as you can see, kind of continue pretty far to the west, to the south, and so on. The good news is that there are maps that do keep this neighborhood together, but you can see why it would be divided in other maps, because sometimes one home in the entire homeowner association is in a particular block, but that block contains 400 or 500 other people that may live in a very different part of the community. And so that's something we look at as we turn to our maps themselves. If we go to the next slide. In addition to the maps here tonight, we encourage you to go online where we have an interactive web viewer, kind of like a Google Maps, where you can search for addresses, compare the maps, overlay them, and really dive into the details, differences between them. Starting with our new map, map 105. This responds to the two requests that were made at the last hearing. Well, the big request was looking at Agua Dulce. As you can see, the boundary in red, kind of the thicker red line, those are what the census considers the boundaries of Agua Dulce. And you see there's a couple of properties that are north of Highway 14 that are not in the community of Agua Dulce according to the census, but are only accessible through the community of Agua Dulce. And so what we did was we adjusted the lines of Area 2 in blue to align with Highway 14 in the south and Sierra Highway in the north. Again, there's a very small community that's not part of Agua Dulce between Agua Dulce and the western border of the district, where there's about 40 people living there, but are only accessible through Agua Dulce. And so we looked at that in making adjustments to map 105 to take that into consideration. This is a variant of map 102, and areas 3, 4, and 5 are identical to 102, except for the changes made in the Agua Dulce area. In addition, this map and 102 are the two maps that keep the Vista Ladera Homeowner Association in one trustee area. We did look at alternatives, and there just aren't a lot of great ways to keep that area together. You end up with something very similar to this map, no matter how you keep that whole area together. That being said, all of our maps, we have four more, which we're going to go through quickly, meet the legal requirements. What they differ on is where they have different trade-offs. So for example, that last map we saw, 105, had a trustee area almost entirely within Agua Dulce. And the only parts that were only accessible through Agua Dulce. This map, 101, divides Agua Dulce in half. So it is a majority of the population in both trustee areas 1 and 2. In addition, This map offers perhaps of 3 slightly more compact districts within the community of Acton proper. Now, another thing you'll notice on each map is in the corner, we have our suggested sequence of elections. The law actually requires that we do this, that we put the potential election years for each trustee area on the maps themselves. This sequence is based on the guidance we get from the county committee and from the state education code, which actually does require us at the end of our process to look at where the current board members live and assign years accordingly. This is one of those conflicts in state law where we draw these blind, but then we look at that at the end in order to give you a election year pattern. We also have on the maps and online as well where each of the current board members resides in, which trustee area they reside in. Map 102 is a slightly different approach. As we talked about, it looks very similar to 105, where we took a northern district north of Sierra Highway into the north end of Acton proper. Basically 2 areas within the community of Acton, and the area 5 in the south connecting Soledad Canyon National Park and kind of the central part of the central southern part of the district. If we go to 103, I wanted to draw a map in 103. We'll just hold on. One that kind of crossed the freeways, ignored the freeways to a degree. In some communities, the freeways represent a major barrier between communities. In other communities, the freeway actually creates neighborhoods that span both sides. So we're presenting options. That's sort of the grand story of why we have so many maps. And in this map, we have 3 areas that cross the Highway 14 in a substantial way. Areas 3, 4, and 5 within Acton proper. If we go to 104, 104 is the kind of map that I like to say the law requires us to show you, but perhaps doesn't actually meet the spirit of the law, even if it meets the letter of the law. One of the reasons we drew this map is because it maximizes the number of trustee areas that are entirely within the census designated places of Acton and Agua Dulce. So we have 3 areas, 3, 4, and 5, green, purple, and orange in Acton, and 1 area in blue entirely in Agua Dulce. And everything else within the district, all the unincorporated area that's not part of a community or officially designated community by the census, plus the little portion of Palmdale at the very north end, that's all in area 5. Or sorry, area 1, which is in pink in this map. Now, what you can see what this looks like, because in a community where we have 1 major population center, 1 secondary substantial population center, and a lot of large unincorporated areas, area 1 does go far to the north, it goes to the west, it goes to the east, it goes to the south. It's not the most compact map, but, and perhaps it divides communities. But it's something that I felt like we needed to look at as we look through the process, at least to see what this would look like. If we go to the next slide, we do want to just compare the maps briefly. Again, what we're trying to look at here is not to say that any map is a perfect map, and there are going to be trade-offs between them. But this highlights some of the features that we've both talked about in the meeting and that the law requires us to look at. I want to highlight that all the deviations are under 10%. There are some, particularly map 102, that comes very close to that 10%. In our case, 10% is less than 900 people. That's a tiny fraction of a census district or a state house or state senate district, but it's very large because the size of each of our trustee areas is also correspondingly fairly small. We also look at our highest Latino citizen voting age population, and we see that it's different areas in the maps, areas 1, area 3, area 4. What this really shows us is that our Latino community is spread out. It's about 25 to 30% everywhere within the district. And so there's not like a particular neighborhood or concentration that we can see on the map in terms of that Latino percentage, Latino neighborhood. And so it's different areas because the accident of how you might draw a line to get this apartment complex or this census block has that little minor change, but the percentages are very close to each other. Each of these maps has 4 areas containing Acton and at least one area, area 4 entirely within Acton. And each of these maps has 2 areas within Agua Dulce. And then as we see in the bottom row, maps 102 and 105 keep the Vista Ladera HOA in one trustee area. And we're happy to add more or better comparisons to this as we go through the process. This is what we have heard so far, what we want to compare. So with that, in addition to tonight, we have on our website, we have a great dedicated website to this process, including all the maps, presentations, reports, and recordings of our Zoom meetings. So if you want to hear me go into more detail on anything, I do so on the recording there. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Levitt. Any discussion from the board? No public comments? We have yet to receive any public input actually on this, so if anyone would care to offer some input, it would be appreciated. I will close this public hearing at 8:21 p.m. Subject C, adoption of resolution number 2024-25.11. I would move to table that to when we have a full, complete board.
I'll second your motion to table.
Call the question.
Jillian, I.
Mays, aye.
Jesus,
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mask on aye. So we can keep that for, put that on the next board meeting. Thank you very much. Item D, 2024-2025, first interim report, budget report.
I'll move this in.
Thank you. District's first interim report covers the period of July 1st, fiscally speaking for the district, through October 31st. And the report is submitted to LACO as part of the process for review. And with that, our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, Mr. Nguyen, will go ahead and cover the presentation. Thank you.
Well, good evening, board members, Superintendent Dr. Sakian, members of the audience. Tonight, I'm going to present the 24-25 first interim report. So there, by law, we are required to present 2 interim reports to the governing board. The first interim is just a subset of the adopted budget. It's from July 1st all the way through October 31st. And we would present the first interim around December 15th. The second interim is from July 1st all the way through January 31st, and we would present that on or before March 15th. All right. There's 3 types of certification. There's a positive certification where the district will meet its financial obligation for the current year and the 2 outer years. And then there's a qualified certification where the district may or may not meet its financial obligation for the current and the 2 outer years. And a negative certification is a district that will not meet its financial obligation for the current and the 2 outer years. Obviously, we're not at that point yet, and I don't think we will. I think we're financially sound. I'll get more into that as we go along the presentation. We're very fortunate this year that our enrollment increased by 40 students from last year to this year. We're at 1,061 about 2 weeks ago. So, and we're projecting that enrollment is going to decline by about 20 students next year and stay flat the 3rd year out. And our average daily attendance is about 91%. Let me go to the next slide here. So how we build our local control funding formula, we want to put in our average daily attendance, our enrollment, our unduplicate people percentage, our property tax, and what the governor's proposing, which is for this year is 1.07% cost of living adjustment. With that, in a nutshell, this is what we get for our revenues. We get about $13.8 million in local control funding formula, and we get base, we get supplemental, and we get concentration funds. If anyone have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer so far. Yeah. Right? No? Okay. So our grade span adjustments from K through 3, we get about $13,540 for students in K through 3. Notice that we get a grade span adjustment for K through 3 is because of we want to have small class size for that grade. If you notice that we don't get grade span adjustment for 4 through 8, but we do get a little bit of grade span adjustments for the high school, which is for career technical education. But obviously we get more for the high school for funding based on average daily attendance. So how we build our revenue is that enrollment increased by 21 and our average daily attendance is at 91%. We get federal funding such as Title I, Title II, Title III. We also get the special education funds. We have one-time funding. We get state funding for one-time state funding for the arts block grant. Ongoing for right now, the arts and music in schools and educator effectiveness. And obviously we get local revenues for donations, special education from our supple program. We'll go with the next one. And then again, this is our annual ongoing revenues every year we get. Our after-school program, which is the expanded learning opportunity program, we get about $475,000. We get the STOP grant, and our lottery funds, unrestricted is $170 per average daily attendance, and our restricted is $67. So in essence, it's about $237 per ADA. One-time funding. This is going to last us all the way through 2026. It's close to $1 million. And then we get the arts block grant, $380,000. So if you look at the our revenues here, made some adjustments. Obviously, with the increase in enrollment or average daily attendance, it increased a little bit by 120,000. Our federal revenue went down. It's mainly because all those one-time fund dollars that we get for ESSER funds are gone. However, the state, if you notice that the state revenue, that's coming from the arts block grant as well as the emergency block grant that I mentioned earlier. So that's why it's a significant increase. Local revenues pretty much stays the same. So in a nutshell here on a pie chart, the bulk of our revenue obviously is 63% is from local control funding formula. We get some federal funding, and this is going to change once the one-time funds are gone. In the outer years, that the state revenues will start falling down, and so our state revenue will start shrinking a little bit. And then these are our expenditures. Our FTE count for certificated is about 85 FTE. That includes management, 97 for classified. Service and purse rate, I'll give you actual numbers, how we calculate. Go on to the next slide. So 2% for certificate, for step and column, as well as for classified. Our STIRS is 19%. So I'll go to the next slide, and then 27% for certificate. So here for certificated, we increased that because we hired a counselor and with all the other calculations. And for classified, we hired 3 security guards basically, for 2 at Vesicas High School, 1 at at High Desert, as well as we had RSP instructional aid and the social workers. So and then obviously with the increase in staff salaries, we also have to increase in statutory benefits. You notice that there's an increase in books and supplies. I don't think we're gonna spend an additional $1 million, but it is technically a placeholder because we got all those one-time funds, so I have to offset it. But basically, that's what it means. And then professional services pretty much stays the same. Obviously, we increased the capital outlay $100,000 more. It's because we bought the 2 vans as well as the bus. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. Next slide. So in a nutshell here, for every dollar that we bring in, 31 cents go to certificate salaries, 18 cents goes to, excuse me, let me, I can't see that far. So 18 cents goes to classified salaries, and then statutory benefits, 21 cents. And we spend 10 cents on the dollar for books and supplies. Professional services is about 16 cents. So capital outlay for the buses, the vehicles is 1 cent for every dollar we bring in. All right. So that's in a nutshell here. So we are projecting that we're going to be deficit spending this year as well as next year. But if you look at the third year out, we're hoping if everything stays the same, if our enrollment stays the same, our average state attendance stays the same, or actually our enrollment decreased next year by 20 students and the third year out stays the same, then we're hoping that we may garner a surplus in 26, 27, the third year out. We have an economic uncertainty for in the event we have to maintain, we're a small school district, so normally we would have to maintain a 4% economic uncertainty, but I made it 6%. So just to make sure that we're positive certification. All right, next slide. So this is our budget cycle here. We are right now at December. I'm reporting the first interim to the governing board. Next month, we'll know more what the governor's going to propose to the state of California in regards to K-12 budgets. We may know more what he's proposing for the cost of living adjustments. So stay tuned. I will debrief the board what the governor is proposing maybe in February. Okay, and then with that information, I would use that to build our second interim. And then obviously there's the May revision from the governor, and that may change again to the enacted budget, which ends in June. And with that information, I would use what the governor's proposed budget, May revision, to build the adopted budget. So it's a revolving cycle. And with that, I'm asking the governing board to certify our first interim has a positive certification. And if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So our revenue is decreasing in the 26, 27, and then you said our expenditures are decreasing, which gives us a surplus of 675. What exactly is decreasing? What can you
So I'm going
shed some
to
light?
yes, I'm going to very good question. I'm going to decrease the books and supplies because we're going to be eliminating. We're not going to have those one-time dollars anymore. So I'm going to have to offset some of that.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for making it very easy for us to understand.
Thank you. Great time.
Again, thank you for all of your efforts on this. I know it's a lot of work, and I do have a couple quick questions for you. We seem to have some expenditures come up that show up as unexpected from time to time. Will we start a reservation process for future years, start taking reserves and reserving funds for these sort of things instead
Yeah.
of just taking the hit in the fiscal year without budgeting it?
Yeah, we want to set aside some money. We have a strong fund balance. So in the event so say for example, next year, if the governor comes out with his proposed budget, what I was projecting for 25, 26 and 26, 27 is that the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, is going to be about 3%. But say for example, if the governor decides that, you know what, we didn't get a lot of state revenue that came in for property taxes, personal income taxes, then with the fund balance we have, then we can offset some of that. Say, for example, he gave us 2% COLA instead of a 3% COLA. Then we have our fund balance will offset some of that.
I think I'm thinking of, like I said, we purchased new buses this year. We have other buses that we know we're gonna have to replace for future years, right? If we can start taking reservations now in our financials for that, to put the money aside now so that it's budget over multiple years instead of on the.
Oh, definitely.
year.
I think that's a really good idea. I think that what we can do when at the end of the year, what I can do is move some of the funds out of general fund to Fund 17. So that way we can reserve that fund for emergency purposes. And I think that would be an appropriate thing to do.
Thank you. Call the question?
I will obtain.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on aye.
Thank you.
Item E, purchase of 2 3-compartment sinks.
A motion.
Thank you. I was going to ask Mr. Nguyen not to walk away from the podium too quickly. Would you like to take these items? You're okay with that? Thank you.
So this is going to be coming out of the Kitchen Infrastructure Training Grant, not going to come out of general fund. This grant is exclusively for food services. And we're going to be purchasing a 3-compartment sink for replacing a 3-compartment sink at High Desert and then putting a new one in for Meadowlark Elementary School, which they need because I believe, from understand from Ms. Bruce, is that when the LA County inspector comes out, they always write food services up that you need a 3-compartment sink for Meadowlark.
Any discussion? I love that you actually pointed out that it comes out of grant funds, but it still ends up drawing down against our reserve.
Um,
But it's just more of a point.
Yes,
It is
yes.
part of, even though it's grant funds and it's locked in for these certain items,
correct.
it's still a reserve fund when you
Yes.
look at the total
Yeah.
number that when you look at it. But so
Yes.
not all those reserves are
Yeah.
just for anything you want to do.
Yeah.
Call the question?
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on aye. Item F, purchase of 2 milk coolers.
A motion.
I'll second.
Oh, this is for, again, this coming out of the Kitchen Infrastructure and Training Grant. We're going to be purchasing 2 milk coolers for Meadowlark and 2 milk coolers for High Desert. And it's not going to come out general fund. And one of the good things is that we have to spend this fund down or else we'll lose the funding.
Call the question or any discussion?
How large are these milk coolers? Are they decent size?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're a pretty good size. They're about this big. I think it's, I can print a picture out for you in a few minutes if you like. Yeah, let's see. Okay, give me a few minutes. I can do that afterward. Okay.
Call the question?
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on aye. And
Right.
Bill wants pictures of milk coolers. So.
Yes.
You don't need to print for all of us.
Okay.
I don't need one.
Just Bill. It's a thing he has.
Okay, yeah.
Item G, purchase of desktops.
A motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got a number of computers that are outdated, taking time to boot up. We just got to replace them and get them. The Windows 10 operating system is gonna end of life. It's gonna be set for next year, and we just got to replace it so that way we can upgrade and make our staff work more efficiently.
And if I could just add additional comments, it's been 11 years for Vasquez in terms of swap out of desktops, and this will be for Vasquez teachers and their desktops. And a shout out to our IT team of Caesar and Alex. They're consistently looking out for our staff, classified and certificated, and making the assessments and bringing forward proposals. So thank you, IT.
Any discussion? You kept those computers running for 10 years. Well done. Can we expect that again for these? Call the question.
DeJillian, I.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mask on aye. Item H, security camera licenses.
A motion.
You want to take it or?
Sure, this is the software as a service where it's called Verkada, where we need to have the license to manage the cameras it's an annual subscription. It's a 3-year subscription, so they gave us a discount. So it's technically to manage 24 cameras. It is about $2,672 annually So in 3 years, its total cost is about $8,000.
And if I could add, this is for the 3 sites as well as the transportation bus yard as well.
Any discussion?
I just have a question about the cameras. I'm sure they're picture cameras, but is there any sound on them?
No, not that I'm
No,
aware of.
just
no.
pictures. Got it.
Any other discussion? So you can say what you want in front of them. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Million.
Mays, aye.
Suicide.
Brianna Taxoni, aye.
Mascot. All right, board comments. Mr. Mays.
Here we go. All right. Parade of tables. Everybody did a great job, all the schools, the teachers union, and our culinary students did a great job serving. We have one right there. So good job. And Mr. Mascone's son as well. But yeah, that was good. Thank you for doing the toy drive. It's very good. And I'm sure the kids are very happy to see their toys. I saw the milk cooler, so we don't need to do the picture. We're good with that. And wishing everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. See you all in 2025.
I want to say thank you to everybody who joining us tonight. Happy holidays. I'm sure that the recital went well. I hope everybody was pleased with that. My daughter asked me, she told me today, you want to go to the board meeting rather than watch my recital at the school? So I have some apologizing to do when I get home, but other than that, we'll see you next year. And thanks, I want to thank all the staff for all their hard work and dedication to making our district great. So I appreciate that, and we'll see you next year.
I have a couple things that I attended. The Antelope Valley School Board Association dinner meeting that was in November was held at Antelope Valley College. We got tours of all of their CTE programs, including their brand new welding mobile semi truck. It's a very cool. It's this huge truck that they can take on location and do welding classes. It's a very cool. We got to walk through it and get some demonstrations. We also we got a tour of their campus and their different CTE programs on campus, and a video of their CTE aviation program that's located out at Fox Airfield. So they had, I don't remember off the top of my head the numbers, but their aviation program and what they have going on there is incredibly impressive. So if we have students that are into aviation or maybe think about going that direction, I didn't even know ABC had a whole aviation department, and it's big, and it's ranked amongst the top of, I don't know if schools in California or across the country, but it's a pretty big deal, and I had no idea until I saw that. So definitely something for our students to be looking into, and for us to be letting them know that they have that right here in our valley. It was a very cool. I do recommend going to those meetings. They always have some sort of speaker. We learn about what's going on at the different school districts that are in the Antelope Valley and part of the Antelope Valley School Board Association. And then we have a speaker, and I always learn a lot from that. And then also to be able to talk with other board members and superintendents and all that. It's definitely a good time and a lot of learning and building relationships with fellow board members across the valley. So if anybody ever wants to come and hang out with me, everybody else's board, like their whole board goes and they have a whole table and I sit by myself. Don't feel sorry for me. I also attended California School Board Association Annual Education Conference, that all by my lonesome. That's a 4-day event. It's a 3-day event, but I did go to the pre-workshop for board president's workshop. So I have stuff to share with Mr. Mascon, and then also in the future, if I am board president, always learning and preparing for things like that. I did try to really focus. There's so many different classes and sessions to go to, and like you just leave there completely drained and with so much more knowledge bouncing around in my head. I always feel very overwhelmed. But I tried to really focus on attendance, mental health, and superintendent board relations, so we can always grow in those areas in our district. And then I also sat in on a session for CIF and sports and how it relates. And the person giving that session was the top guy at CIF. I got my picture with him. I don't know his name. I thought it was a very cool that he was like, I don't know, the CEO or the director or whoever he is. He's the big guy. It was cool to listen to how he implements things in conversations that he's had and why CIF does some of the things that we have that does directly impact our scholar athletes. So that was pretty cool. I did get a chance to go over to the ASMO performance before coming here. It looked absolutely beautiful. I left as they were letting parents in, but watching the excitement of the students walking in and how cute they looked, there was a ton of parents there, so I'm sure they had a great performance. I can't wait to hear all about it. But congratulations, ASMO, on another successful performance. I don't know how many years they've been doing it, but a lot. They've been around for a really long time. So thank you to ASMO and everybody helping out, staff and volunteers, parents, students, helping out with that. I'm sure it was a great performance. So thank you for that. And then Natalie's Toy Drive, that says so much about your character, that you took something in your life and in your family and continue to build on what your aunt started and bring it to our small town, something that is important to you and important to your family, and now you've made it important to us. Thank you very much for doing that. It's a very exciting and very cool to see that bit of your character. I just love that you sit up here and share those kinds of things with us. So thank you for all you do as a student board member, and thank you for sharing that with us. And that was a lot, sorry. I'm done. Church mouse.
Again, just to reiterate, super appreciate the opportunity to serve the community, and I'm honestly proud to be part of the school district and to work with each and every one of you. So it's humbling and it's enjoyable, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to my fellow board members for all they do as well. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us up here as well.
Can we go backwards?
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you. We didn't loop around after you took your president's seat. So congratulations. And I know we all are excited to have you as the head of our board. So congratulations, Mr. Mascon, Mr. President.
Well, thank you. With that, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever suits you. That's it. Calendar. Next meeting we have for January 23rd and then February 13th. Does anyone have any conflicts? No. Future agenda items, 15. Informational, procedural. Redesignation, English language learner, Meadowlark presentation, strategic plan quarterly updates, and CVRA updates. Anything else? With that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 8:49 PM. You get a motion?
All motion.
I'll second.
Call the question?
DeJillian, aye.
Mays, aye.
Jesus, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Mascon, aye.